What's up guys, it's Green Day Bowser. I'm here for another speed build, and this one is actually not really a build. It's more of a speed, what's it called? Speed landscape, I guess, yeah. Because I only actually had to build one thing, and I furnished one thing. Everything else is actually just paints and plants. So this is actually a lot in Sunset Valley. It is the other park lot that isn't the Central Park. I don't actually remember what it's called. I actually already have this one on the exchange, so there will be a link in the description. It says on the exchange what it replaces. And I mean, you can put this anywhere really, but it's best to replace the lot it already is replacing. Um, I'm really hoping that this doesn't lag because I had a problem with my last speed build, the house, where the video actually wasn't 4 times. I had to slow it down to 3.8, which I mean, it's something you don't notice, but it took a lot of time to try and actually get it to match up with the audio because I did the narration and the narration video wasn't lagging, but then when I played it back, it lagged a bunch and I didn't know what was going on. So I actually used a tutorial from the SimSupply that I had watched multiple times before and not intended on doing, but then I watched it this morning, or not this morning, but the morning I did this, which was yesterday. But the thing is, I ended up getting mad because I had to redo the bridge again because I had tried to retexture the floor after I realized that wasn't the wood I wanted, and it didn't want to retexture because the way I already had worked it. So I had to completely redo the bridge, and it it was annoying. I think it came out better the second time though. So uh, basically, what I'm doing here is I was trying. I realized it was the wrong amount of spaces on the floor, so I had to actually destroy half the bridge and redo it. But so this was a lot of trial and error. Basically, what you do is you make the bridge. I'll link the tutorial too because I used it. So thanks, SimSupply. Basically, you make the bridge and you use constrained floor elevation after you've already decorated the bridge how you wanted, which was my mistake because I did not decorate it how I wanted. I decided later, after I was done, that I wanted to use a different wood, and I also changed fences too, but that isn't the point. The thing is, basically once you're done with that, although I kind of made a stupid mistake here too, when you finish up, that's when I decided to change fences. When you finish doing that, you go ahead and you use Constraint Floor Elevation False after making the curve that you want in the ground, and you drag a piece of foundation over. You'll see when I do it, but drag a piece of foundation over one of the curves, and then from there you quote flatten the bridge until it makes a curve. And the reason I say quote flatten is you're not flattening it, you're making it not flat. But you get my point. Now this was actually annoying because, excuse me, this is something I couldn't get to work. So I ended up just doing this instead, which was irritating, but then turned out that was for nothing anyway. So, see, I already can see it while I'm doing my commentary. It's kind of lagging a bit, which means that it is going to make me have to change speeds again, which is annoying. But I also have a couple creative sims, and I think that's really it. I decided to delete my apartment video, so you're not actually going to see me build that. I'm sorry. I kept bringing it up, but it's really no point because it wasn't that good anyway, and I don't really like how it came out. And I mean, if I want to do another apartment complex, I can. And I mean, I don't know, I didn't like it, and plus I was having so many issues with it in the sense that not only was this lag happening, but it was also taking up space on my computer, and I also, just the lot itself, I couldn't get to do what I wanted because I couldn't actually make it an affordable apartment, and I realized part of it's because I used really freaking expensive furniture, but then even taking out all the furniture and making sure everything was marked off public/private, uh, just the one room up at the top, which was your space, which was the living room and everything, and the bedroom was already $20,000 without furniture. So I was like, nope, done. So it still exists in my game in Los Daniegos, but I'm probably never gonna use it, and I probably will destroy it in game too soon because I already got rid of the recording, and I don't really need it. Now here's where I did the bridge the first time, and I actually paused and came back because I didn't know what I was doing. So I actually did a million things off recording to try and figure out what I was doing. And here's where I tried to make sure constrained flow elevation was working, but it wasn't letting me go under the bridge. So I didn't know what I was doing wrong, and then I paused to figure out what I was doing, and then that's when I realized that I watched the tutorial again in between the gap. So you didn't see a jump cut, but I did because I mean, I recorded it. But then that's when I also realized, wait, what am I doing? So I tried to make it, and I was like, wait, no, that's wrong. So I did that, and then that's when it started to do the curve. Now the curve was better and steeper the second time around, but it looks kind of broken on the edges where it first slants. And I guess that's okay because I mean it's an old wooden bridge, and I do really like it. It was interesting. But basically, yeah. See, here the bridge isn't as curved. It's more of a pointy bridge. It looks more curved later. In fact, I think I might have curved it a little too high later, but that's okay because that was kind of what I wanted to do. Uh, See, I already got the water in first because I turned constrained flow elevation and I made sure to level that out and everything. And then I got all the water in and I loved how it was coming out. Well, I checked to make sure it worked like that first. And then I kind of goofed around a bit and started doing stupid things. And then I was like, this isn't what I'm supposed to do. I wanted to see how the foundation looked without it like that. And then that's when I started putting water in. But this isn't used because remember, I had to redo the bridge. So I had to redo the water too. And it came out better the second time because it's more rounded, whereas here it's just kind of a lopsided little thing. And that's when I was like, yeah, let's retexture things to make it look older, and then that's when problems happen. Anyway, I actually don't think I've talked about the place, minus the fact that it's not a build, and that there's a curved bridge. If you can't tell by the title, this is a Japanese-inspired garden, and that is because, as you can also read on the exchange, on the file, my dad is actually planning on making something similar to this in our backyard. Uh, you probably already know, if you know me long enough, I'm not Japanese, and I don't live in Japan, so, I mean, it seems kind of outlandish, but actually, the three of us are all very, as in my mom, dad, and I are all very into the culture of Japan. I've always loved it, and it's because my parents. So, it's kind of annoying to hear people at school, or at least not anymore, but back when I was in middle school, I was always considered like a weeaboo, and it was always annoying because I'm like, I know more than just anime, kawaii desu. But anyway, that's not the point. Back to the building. I'm still messing with the bridge, and that's when I had to redo the whole thing. And it was annoying because I had to flatten it back out. I mean, I didn't have to rebuild it. I just had to redo it, as in, I had to reflatten it, and then I had to redo the curve, which was annoying because I was hoping maybe I could take back the curve or something, which I knew wouldn't be able to happen. So I had to go and mess with it again and make a better curve, which was harder. It was actually harder to do than I wanted it to be, and I don't know. It came out better this time though than it did, and I accidentally made it too high, so I had to flatten it back out, and I noticed it was lopsided, so I had to fix everything. But it is decent. I do like how it came out, although I had a lot of problems with it at first, and I also had another problem here in the fact that I had to actually redo the curve a third time because the curve was too close, so I was warping everything. It wasn't just as soon as I placed the foundation, it warped it. It wasn't just a warp when I needed it. I was like, that's the perfect height. Places foundation, messes everything up. Turns to full elevation, false, places foundation, warps bridge. And like that's not what I wanted. As soon as I placed it there, it would warp the bridge one way or another, and I didn't want a bridge to warp any other way than I was trying to warp it. So I was like, hey, what if I try doing this? Where I make it go up and then I fix it. And then I realized, oh yeah, that'll work. And then I looked on the other side and realized, wait, the other side isn't lifted. This also caused another problem that I was afraid meant I would have to redo the bridge a third time, but it actually did not lead to that. The curve was actually easier to make the second time because all I had to do was that, and then from there all I had to do was spring up the sides again, which was annoying, and then reflatten it like that, and then bump up the third curve so that it would look like an actual bridge curve, which is what I did. And then I remembered, wait, drag that way, and then doing that made me do the bridge again, but there was the problem I'm talking about that made me think I might have to redo the bridge again is you notice those two white poles, instead of it being the old wood, it somehow replaced the texture. That would have meant I would have to do it all again, but I realized luckily it just was a matter of delete delete that section of the fence and re-put the fence in, and it was fine. I kept railings, oh, and then that's when I forgot about constrained full elevation, so the whole bridge just sunk, and then I had to mess with things. And then that's where the wood edges got broken, but I didn't really care because I did like it. It actually looks better that way, I feel like, because it makes it look older, like I said. It was too round, so I had to make it, I decided to use the small one and make it kind of roundish myself. I don't even know what I was doing there, don't even ask me. So that's when I started messing around with it and trying to make it look pretty. And really, I realized after making the bridge, that was the hardest part. Everything else was just, let's make it as pretty as I want to. And that's what I did. I tried to make it look nice. And I feel like I did do that very well, considering I showed this to my parents after I was done because, you know, we're going to have something similar in our yard, and they both really loved it. So I am really proud of myself, which is why I'm not waiting for my Movie Maker lag glitch to fix to show it to you guys, because I'm not going to waste my time when I really want to show you guys something I'm proud of. So I'm sitting through it, and I'm just saying screw the glitch. I'm just gonna deal with it, and if I have to mess and make things like 3.8 or 3.75 or even 3.6678 something, whatever, I'm going to deal with it because I don't care about it anymore. That's just a minor issue that you guys aren't ever gonna notice. In other news, I'm also going to work more on the ghost experiment because I do like that, and I'm mad because somehow I cut off the end of that. I didn't realize I did, so I'll show you guys the boys' bedrooms before I switch over to the girls' house, and then you can see it, and it'll all be all better. But anyway, if you guys have not checked out the ghost experiment, you should totally do that. I probably have a link to that too, so I'll have 3 links: the exchange link, the ghost experiment, and obviously the curved bridge tutorial. So yeah, I just have to remind myself and make sure I actually do it instead of just being like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to do that, and then have no link set whatsoever. But yeah, here you can see the bridge, and that's, if you look closely, you can see the seam. And I'm mad, but at the same time I'm happy. Because I'm mad because it means that I did the bridge kind of wrong, even though it's still basically the same process. But I'm kind of happy because it makes the bridge look older, which is kind of what I wanted. So the warps in it is good, because it's meant to be an ancient bridge, even though, you know. And it's in Sunset Valley, but the thing about this version of Sunset Valley is I'm trying to make it more Japanesque. So I have a bar that's actually an old bar I created a long time ago, and all I did is use the Japanese store sets to make it or to make it more of a Japanese place. It has the teppanyaki grill and all those other things, and now there's this instead. I was gonna make Central Park something like this, not this big garden, but like something more Japanese-ish. But then I decided that's too big. Let's start small. So I decided to start small. Here's why I did the path thing and everything, and it was fun to do, but at the same time, I was trying to make it look more worn, and I realized the eraser tool is a good thing for making things look worn out, and so I did that. I feathered the edges, and then I tried to feather the inside too, and that didn't do what I wanted. So I tried to just kind of, so that's when I went back and forth with it, and I accidentally erased too much on this half, and that's when I noticed it, because it was like transparent instead of looking old. But the other side looked old, so I was fine with the other side, but I basically refilled in those areas, and then re-erased those areas, and then made sure I had all the leftover terrain paint from the original lot here are gone. The reason it's good to replace that lot in Sunset Valley is because not only does it fit perfectly, but I also, if you didn't notice where the warps are on the edges, the hills, I did not flatten the hills or change the hills. The hills are exactly how they were on the original lot because I liked how they were laid out, so I kept the warp to make it look like it fits in perfectly. Plus, the path, I can't speak, the path matches up with the parts of Sunset Valley. So, I mean, you could change the path out if you wanted to, but it would kind of mess up the entire garden, to be honest. But, I mean, hey, if you want to completely change this, go ahead and completely change this. That's what it's for. But, I mean, you could even make it a non-Japanese inspired garden, even though that kind of defeats the purpose. But, you know, it's fine. But anyway, so here I am putting in the Sakura cherry blossom trees. I call them both names because they're Sakura, but, I mean, some people don't know them as that. So, cherry blossom trees, because the game even calls them cherry blossom trees. So, and then I put in some pear trees, and I mean, that's because I remembered my dad, well, my mom saying that she wanted some apples, so my dad was going to put in an apple tree, but he also decided, why don't we put in a pear tree? So we're going to be putting in apple and pear trees into our yard, along with actual cherry blossom trees, which is going to be amazing. I mean, I don't want to do all the work, but I can't wait to actually see what it looks like. It's going to be really pretty, I know it's going to be. Now here I am just messing with rocks, and I've also used another thing that I learned, although I could have learned it from anybody, but I mean, Sim Supply's the person I watched do it. When he was making his retaining wall, he talked about how you can just stack up rocks and rotate them however you want to. So that's what I'm doing, and I mean, at first I started out lining them straight, but then I decided, why don't I just mess with rocks and stack things up awkwardly. And the rectangle rocks I didn't like at first, but then I realized they were perfect because, and I did not want sim edge. The rectangle rocks, you could cover up the corners, and then it would just look like a random rock that's underneath there. And then I didn't want to get too big, so I didn't want to use any of the huge ones, but I used some bigger ones. Yeah, see, the time at the bottom of my narration is already longer than the video is, but yet I'm still watching this because of the glitch. But anyway, it's not going to affect you, don't worry. But basically saying, although the end of the video will be the same length. Right now it's already at 1440, even though the original thing ends at 1411, so you're not going to see the change because it'll be as long as it is right now. later. I'm gonna make it longer to match the narration because that's a problem I'm having right now. But anyway, basically, I'm placing the rocks and everything, and they're pretty, and I like them. And then I also was gonna put some other things around, and that's when I decided I should put flowers in. So I started putting flowers in around the place too, because I mean, yeah. Although I realize it's technically a rock garden, but it's not because the Zen gardens are what they're called technically, and they're just rocks and sand with lines. But it's both technically. Consider it a rock garden because there's rocks around the pond and everything, and that's why the lot is called the Japanese rock garden. But the reason this video just says Japanese garden is because I don't want to seem ignorant to anyone who actually knows the difference between a Japanese rock garden like the Zen gardens and regular Japanese garden. So I mean, I fixed my mistake technically, but at the same time I didn't. But anyway, here I am doing flowers along the path, which I think looked really pretty, and I put some flowers along this side too. And I like the flowers actually. I've never really landscaped this much before, and because this lot is 100% full landscaping, and I'm actually kind of glad because it made me realize that a good landscape is really good. That was really redundant. I'm sorry. But anyway, so like, I mean, these areas over here look a little comical because it's just a bunch of flowers thrown into a puddle. And I mean, hey, that's okay. But at the same time, how realistic is it for a bunch of flowers to just grow together like that? But I'm keeping it anyway because it looked really pretty and I liked it. So I did it on the other side too. Although to be honest, this lot was getting really symmetrical. I noticed even when I was just placing in the cherry trees, it was very symmetrical. And I mean, that's a good thing. But at the same time, I tried to stray from it as much as I could. And if you're wondering why the path expands, oh yeah, here's where I am doing dirt around the flowers and kind of underneath the rocks too, to make it look more real. To kind of be like, yeah, these plants are growing in dirt. And then I went and I fixed some things, and I accidentally placed dirt there, but I fixed the pavers, and then I erased the dirt puddle. Uh, and then I went ahead and I decided that I was going to also put in uh, flowers. This is when I did the flower terrain paints. I was originally just going to go for bright pink, and I decided that to make it look like petals hit the ground. But then I also decided to mix in some purple on one side, but I think I did just leave it bright pink on that side. Oh no, that's the side that I actually added purple in. I was going to add yellow and some other stuff, but then it wasn't coming out right. So I was like mixing in all the colors, and then it ended up just really being pink and purple, which is fine because it's really pretty. And then that side I went in to mix purple, but then I kept it pink because, I mean, hey. But yeah, so here I am putting in a few tables, and these are base game. I was gonna use stuff from the Japanese set, but then I decided not to because not everyone has the Japanese set. But some people do want a pretty garden, even if it's not necessarily quote Japanese to them. So I ended up using those, the base game bistro table, and of course those chairs are base game too, but they're more expensive. But I mean, hey, you don't have to pay for it. It's a community area, but yeah. So I'm really hoping that you enjoyed this. I was gonna put them over there, but I actually honestly don't know when this recording is going to end because it always just stops before I can expect it to, and especially because I don't know what time it ended at, so I couldn't really script everything out, like, because the glitch. So yeah, I don't really know when this is ending, so I'm just going to say goodbye now because I really do like how this came out, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Bye.